This is why I always say psychology before technology. Almost always, if it's not converting, it's either you're targeting the wrong people or you're offering them the wrong shit. We want to get the people who spend money on Facebook ads and Google ads and SEO and websites, the people who have closets and closets and closets full of shoes. And so Coldlytics is the best tool. This is a transactional business where you're just selling them a trinket or a toy or a supplement or whatever, and then you move on and go looking for the next person. You'll never be fucking profitable because you can never get your ad costs cheap enough. But if you help those people build real margin, then they're going to build real relationships and have real customer relationships. All right, we're officially live in Facebook land. So excited to have you guys back for just another round of awesomeness. It is a new year, and we're going to be focusing on some stuff that, by the way, is pretty fucking recession-proof, because I know that's a lot of folks are dealing with the insanity of that. But if you understand the deeper principles that never change, like as Jay Abraham says, people get richest in recessions, and I want you guys to be among them. So we're going to be sharing some cool stuff. Just a couple little quick announcements. Our Loom workshop is full. So other than, maybe somebody canceling at the last minute or whatever, that's all closed up. So those of you guys who are interested, sorry, but I only have so much capacity because I'm reviewing the videos and stuff everybody makes personally. Secondly, I've opened 10 spots this year for the mastermind. There is a new video out for it if you guys are interested in it. That explains what it is, who it's for, how much it costs, what we do inside there, benefits, also reasons not to do it, who it's not a fit for, what it'll not do for you, all those kind of things. So if you guys are interested in that, we've actually filled a couple of those spots already. New Year's, kind of cool like that. But I love you guys. I love working with you as much as I can. I try to do it. It's just, I got to balance that with actually running an agency and my crazy kids and all my, systems and that. And we also actually have started a real estate business. So we're doing some acquisitions there. So it's just been a crazy little ride, but I'm excited to go on this journey with you guys, and it'll be awesome. So let's get into the good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. All right, you guys are getting better and better questions by the week. Let's do it. I see we got quite a few questions this week. Let's start with Daniel. Daniel says, I'm looking for some advice on my campaigns. My campaigns are just not converting. They've been running for months and have set them up, in my opinion, the best I can. Tightly themed ad groups, keywords, ads, new landing pages specific to the keywords, extensive negative keyword list. As you can see, I'm using an automated bid strategy of max clicks. This is just this last 7 days worth of data in the image below. Am I missing something? Thoughts and advice appreciated. Daniel, I'm going to give you some hard advice, my man. When shit is not converting, there is a tendency to look first at the technical. Oh, it's because my max bid offer, because my cost per click, because of the targeting strategy I'm using. And almost always it's the human shit. This is why I always say psychology before technology. Almost always, if it's not converting, it's either you're targeting the wrong people or you're offering them the wrong shit. You're targeting the wrong people or you're offering them the wrong shit. And it sounds like in your case that it's probably like a local search result, and more than likely you're just offering the same boring shit they can get anywhere. Call us now today and we'll fix your windows, shit like that. So there's always ways to play with the offer. I plan on doing some more trainings for you guys over the years on how you guys can like tighten and pimp, especially your client offers, because a lot of clients, they come up with boring fucking offers, and their offer is like, call us today for a free consultation or a free estimate or shit like that. And it's not necessarily bad in and of itself, but it has to be different than what everybody else is saying in your market. Otherwise, it's not really that exciting of an offer. So that's the place I would look. It's probably your offer. It's just probably your fucking offer. And a lot of times, if you get creative with offers, you can come up with cool ways to pimp your client shit. So like I saw a guy in my world, he was doing stuff for real estate agents. And what do real estate agents want? They want people to come look at the fucking house. And so what they found is, in this case, they were selling like $1 million mansions. And so their commission check on that is like 30, 40 grand. So they decided to give away a $20 Starbucks gift card if you come to the open house and check the house out and agree to like kind of go through a sales process. Now, $20 for a gift card, those add up, sure, but with a $30,000 commission, you can do that. And there's no rule that says you can't throw in a $20 Starbucks gift card with real estate. So it's really only limited by your creativity, but it's your offer. It's not the technology, man. People get way too caught up in like, I see this with Facebook ads where it's like, oh, you can only scale the winners this much per day. And I followed all that fucking advice for years, and it's all nonsense because it's really about the people. If you have an offer that works on real people, you'll be able to scale a whole bunch faster and your life will get a whole lot easier. So chances are your offer is probably just like, call now for a free estimate or call now for a consultation. And that's like just boring. So pimp that shit, my man. Richie says, best tool or software to scrape lead lists where you also get first name of the business owner. Coldlytics, we've done a deep talk on this. This is a quality over quantity thing. I've seen a lot of people in our world using the D7 scraper and Lead Carrot and all these different fucking tools. And I'll tell you my thoughts on are really simple, which is the most important thing is, I've mentioned this in the book, is that you get in front of the fucking buyers, okay? So I mentioned this in our mastermind the other day. I said everybody here in the mastermind is a buyer of marketing books. You'll notice, if I can point, there are marketing books right there above my marketing, above, and business books and self-development. My family, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate, don't fucking read books. And if they do on rare occasion, they're like entertainment books. They read stories and nothing wrong with that. But they would never buy marketing books. And I could pitch them over and over and over on marketing books and they would never fucking buy them. On the contrary, if you have a good marketing book and you pitch it to me, it's going to be pretty easy. Or if you pitch it to one of our mastermind members or some of you guys out there, it's going to be pretty easy to sell a marketing book because we are buyers of that. So when you scrape leads, everybody thinks that like if you just get every dentist, that's equal. And no, we want to get the people who spend money on Facebook ads and Google ads and SEO and websites, the people who have closets and closets and closets full of shoes. And so Coldlytics is the best tool. It's got a cheat code in it. We did a bunch of training on it. If you use my link, actually, you can get started for $1. But all you got to do is scrape the websites that have tracking code for Google and Facebook, and those will be the buyers, and it'll be so much easier than what everybody else is doing. We don't want to contact 1,000 dentists. We want to contact the 5 of them who buy all the shit and spend all the money. If you do that, you'll make your life so much easier as a general rule. I would rather spend $1,000 contacting one shoe buyer over and over and over and over and over than I would spend $1,000 just contacting dentists indiscriminately. I would rather contact one dentist who spends all the money than I would just like randomly going after him. But short answer to your question is Coldlytics. Bushra says, what metrics do you pay attention to while you optimize your winning campaigns? Ooh, this is a good question. Bushra, that you have to look at the output over the entirety of the thing. And there's a hidden metric in all of this, and I wish more people understood this, but I only know because I've made this mistake. The hidden metric is, are the right people coming through the machine at scale? And you can't easily measure are the right people coming through. It's kind of like a little bit of a feel, but I'll tell you why this matters. I remember like 5 years ago, we were running stuff. We were running ads in Germany, and there was a period where I was trying to get my funnel dialed in, and my ads were converting, and my click-through rates were like 2-3%, which on Facebook is like higher than average and good enough to run the system. And we were getting opt-ins at like, I don't know, $4 or $5 a piece, which works at scale, especially if you got like an $8,000 offer, which we did. We were getting people to sign up for our list, and they were also booking calls at about $40-50 US. And the problem is that the people who were coming through in the sales calls, I would say like 80 to 90% of them were the wrong fucking people. So if you try and optimize all the metrics, so the click-through rates were good, the landing page rates were good, the opt-in rates, my cost per call was good, all of it was good, but the wrong fucking people were coming through. So I would rather pay attention to the whole machine and pay a little bit more to have the right people come through at scale and spend money on that than all the bullshit vanity metrics. I see people getting caught up in likes. I see people getting caught up in click-through rates. All those things are vanity metrics. Are you making sales? at scale to the people you want to be making sales to. Everything else is vanity, in my opinion. And there are micro indicators that you're on the right track. So you can look at things like click-through rate. But if you look at those in isolation, then you'll get the wrong picture of what's going on. Because I see this all the time where people have funnels optimized for the wrong fucking people. And individually, metrics in the system look good. But ultimately, it's like it's not fucking working to what the real end goal is. So that's what I would say to you is are the right people coming through the system? That's the metric you optimize for. Aaron says, getting up to 90 purchases a week for a client, but just can't seem to get CPA down for a decent ROAS. Average order value is around 23 British pounds. And any tips, guys? Thanks, Aaron. Aaron, you just described the number one problem with e-commerce. And I'll tell you, the solution is not what most people think it is. Okay, you know what the number one problem is for e-commerce? This is some serious aggressive finger shaking. I'm gonna make this the thumbnail. Me just going on YouTube. So the number one problem with e-commerce is, in a single word, margin. Okay, so yeah, you can sell like a shitload of your $23 thing, but if you can't be profitable doing it. And almost always people try to solve this problem the wrong fucking way, which is they try and get their ad costs down another penny. I just want you to know, this is what ad costs do over time. If you look at Facebook ads or Google ads, they're an auction. This is what they do over time. They go up. So if you are trying to make your ad cost go down, you're literally fighting the fucking system in a way you can't win. So the solution to that is always is you have to be more profitable on the back end, which means you have to sell them a second thing. You have to have upsells. You have to have like repeat business. You have to have subscriptions. And this is why the people who solved the real problem for e-commerce, I have a friend, Dave Mizuraki, who I've interviewed a couple of times in the group. He's actually the first person I knew online that was successful. This was like in 2008. And anyways, they run an agency for e-commerce, and all they do is send out emails and sell more back-end shit because it creates margin that they can go use. Another person in our group, Robert Siegelquist, he helps people optimize with his foot in the door offer is like, hey, I'll fix your abandoned cart issue and I'll make some sales there. And then he helps them sell, again, more on the back end. But if you're trying to fight the ROAS game by getting cheaper clicks and cheaper acquisition, you're going to fucking lose long term. Dan Kennedy always says the person who can win in the market is the one who can pay the most amount of money to acquire a customer, and that's because they have the most margin on the back end. And what this means is, Jay Abraham said this really beautifully, is I want to be your most trusted advisor for life. If this is a transactional business where you're just selling them a trinket or a toy or a supplement or whatever, and then you move on and go looking for the next person, you'll never be fucking profitable because you can never get your ad costs cheap enough. But if you help those people build real margin, then they're going to build real relationships and have real customer relationships, and they're going to be their most trusted advisor for life. And it's on sale 2 and sale 3 and sale 4 and sale 5 that they actually make the real money. I have friends who are in the supplement business who can afford to go negative for 3 months. They're willing to lose money, and on month 4, 5, 6, and so on, that's when they make the real money. So the biggest problem in e-commerce is margin, and the biggest way to fix it is not with cheaper ads, it's with your back end. So I hope that helps you focus on the real shit that's going down. Carlos, mi amigo, coming to La Paz tomorrow. I'm excited to see you, brother. Morning all. A suggested topic for this week's weekly Q&A. Boys and girls, children of all ages. I think it's great. All the moving parts of the agency biz are discussed during these live sessions with Frankie Finn. But I'd also dare suggest that occasionally other aspects that involve the human component are covered as well. For example, how to deal with the narrative of fear, nurturing the right mindset and emotional well-being, finding meaning and purpose beyond the Stripe notifications without getting too Tony Robbins-y. What say you peeps? All right, Carlos. You asked for it. You just inspired a Frankie Finn rant. I think this is going to be a quality one, but I'm a little biased on the topic. All right, first of all, let me be honest with you, Carlos. Part of the reason I actually don't talk about that stuff as much, sometimes I do in the mastermind a lot, is I feel like a lot of times it attracts struggle bunnies. Like, we all deal with fear to a certain extent. Like, every entrepreneur deals with some form of like overwhelm where we got too much shit to do, frustration, shit's not going our way. What else? There's another one I forgot. Oh, maybe I'll come back to it later. But we all deal with those same kind of things, right? Where like there's challenges, and of course, what I think two things that are big switches that'll make your life easier as an entrepreneur. Thing number one is most people, when you start getting into like self-help and stuff related to fear, which we all deal with. Oh, the other one is anxiety, especially about money and not having enough. And you think this goes away as you make more money, but actually it just gets bigger because your teams and your expenses get bigger and you worry more about those things. So anyway, when the feelings come inside, what most people do is they try and do affirmations and all these things. And I'm not against any of those things. But almost always the thing you need to do is when you're afraid is just feel it. Not think it, not talk about it, not journal about it. Sit with the feeling, find it, and just allow it to move through your body. And if you do that, it'll pass. Everybody thinks there's some magic formula, and there really isn't. The second thing, which I think is far more important, and I probably don't talk about this enough, I'm a big fan of Neville Goddard, who I think is the best person on the subject. And the idea is to get out ahead of it. And so what he recommends, Psycho-Cybernetics calls this theater of the mind, which is why I have a big-ass vision board behind me, is I see my goals and I envision them as done, and I feel the feelings now. So like, let's just say, I'll tell you some of the most common goals that agency owners have. One of those is $10,000 a month. Another of those 50, another of those 100,000. Those are just monetary goals, but nonetheless, they're goals that a lot of us have. 200,000 a month, 250, 300. The numbers get bigger, but like point is the same. Is rather than like what most people are doing, which is reacting to everything that's happening in life, is to be proactive and start feeling how you're going to feel when you've accomplished what you want to accomplish. And then instead of waiting for like those like life to happen, you're intentionally creating it and moving in a direction. And you're telling your mind over and over, focus on this is where I want to go. And what will happen is that will create itself automatically. So you proactively feel what you want to feel in those finished states. You don't wait for it. And Neville Goddard's got the best stuff I've ever read. He's an awesome speaker from about 100 years. You can find some free stuff on YouTube. He's also got some cool books you can buy. But I would just start with check out some of this free stuff on YouTube. And he talks about imagining your goals as finished, feeling the feelings of them now. And what happens is rather than waiting to react to something that's going to make you fearful, you're positively getting in states of gratitude or joy or whatever you feel when your goals are done. The second thing is you mentioned another thing about purpose. I think most people get purpose wrong. I actually just did a podcast on this. I think what happens is most people so I read a story about J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter author. Supposedly she was riding on a train and she got this big fucking download, and the idea for all the books came to her, and she had to go home and take dictation and write it all down and all that. And sometimes purpose works like that, where it's just like a big fucking download. But I'd say that's like 0.0001% of the time. For most of us, it's created. And it's created in the small things first before it's created in the big things. And so that's why I always say, make your agency have a small but meaningful why that it exists. It doesn't have to be like we're going to change the fucking world. And it's going to, actually, our small but meaningful why in our lawyer agency is I just want to give lawyers a good experience working with marketers. They've had so many shitting ones that I want to give them a positive, beneficial, not just in terms of results and deliverables, but actually dealing with the marketer and gifts and hey, letting them know they're cared for and appreciated and their business is valued. Right? So those small but meaningful whys are how you build purpose. And if you start doing that, your whole life will become more purposeful. I think most people are waiting for the lightning bolt, and what they need to do is just decide on small but meaningful whys and work at it. So hope that's helpful. If you get proactive on the emotions, that's the best thing I can tell you to do. Neville Goddard's the best. Annette says she loves Neville as well. He's just a good dude. Actually, speaking of Annette, we got back-to-back Annette questions. She said, regarding Frankie's specificity sells, what do you think of the wording of this offer? We help agencies with 10 plus WordPress projects per month to take on more business and clients by doing their complete fulfillment from A to Z as a white label for a fair price. Any tips are helpful. Thank you. That's a good start, Annette. So when I say specificity sells, just for those of you guys who don't know, is what most of us do in our minds is we make offers that are so general that we think they'll appeal to more people. And what actually happens in reality is the opposite, is that they end up speaking to nobody. So like when Barnesy, we joke about it now, but when he first came to me, his offer was, if you're a business owner, I can increase your profits. Well, I'm a fucking business owner and I don't know he's talking to me, right? So, and many of you are business owners and you don't know he's talking to you. So the specificity is in the details. And I'll tell you the biggest place where people miss specificity is in undefined outcomes. And marketers almost just do this unconsciously because we've heard it so many times, which is this word more. I'm going to get you more leads, more clients, more sales, more this, more. And I'm not saying more is a bad thing. I'm just saying that like 1,000, we don't operate in a vacuum, and 1,000 asshole marketers before us have ruined that thing. So when I say, when I allow you to do more business and clients by doing their fulfillment from A to Z as a white label partner, that's the details, that's the specifics that are missing. So to me, it's better just to say, like, I can do a 10-page WordPress website for $800, so you can just focus on delivering it and give examples of your work. Like, those are the meaningful specifics, is what kind of website are you going to build? For who? What's on it? How much do you charge, right? Like, the more you stack that offer, you have the right idea because it's clear who it's for. So actually, I think the first part of that offer sentence is actually pretty powerful. If you're an agency owner and you're making all these websites, and you mentioned if they have 10 plus. So I think that part is on point right there. It's the second half of that sentence where it falls off, where it starts getting more clients. It defaults to this undefined more, complete fulfillment from A to Z, blah, 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 blah. To me, it's much better to say, like I said, I'll build you a 5-page or a 10-page WordPress website, blah, blah, blah. I'll take care of communicating with the client. I'll get all the projects on design. We white label it as you. Like, those are the specifics that matter. And so I don't necessarily know what those are, but if you tighten those, especially if you look at the easiest way to do this is the easiest work you're ever going to get in it. Like, even though all web design's kind of the same, it's easier to sell a dentist a website if you can show another dentist website. So more than likely, the best agencies who are going to pick you up are similar to clients you've already done work for. So if you've done a lot of plumbers, then show plumbing websites. And then you can be proactive about this. You can go identify people who are doing like plumbing SEO, and you can identify people who are in that space. So it's the details on like what kind of website are you going to build, what's it going to look like, how much is it going to cost, what else are you going to take care of. As we mentioned, and I think you've seen the training, but you want to think about the full spectrum of timer. Like, how are you saving these people time? Like, what are you doing specifically that's going to save them time? Identity-wise, that's an easy one because they want to take care of their clients, but they don't want to be in the trenches delivering it. The money is like exactly how much is this website going to cost? When it comes to energy, what are you going to do for them? And then the reputation. My man, Chris, dude, I missed you. It's not the same without hanging out with you in a month. I'm just saying. I know you got snowed in, but shit happens. I hope you got my letter in the mail just for Christmas, but who knows? It may still be en route. Annette, part 2. I hope that's helpful to you, by the way. The specifics matter. Chris, by the way, does an awesome example of this because they're white labeling websites, and he's got all those details dialed in, how much it's going to cost, what's going to be on the website, right? In his case, it's car detailing. One of the things they do that I think is particularly brilliant, sorry, bragging about you for a second, Chris, but they have packages, like a lot of car detailers just say, call us for a quote. They have packages on their website, so you can click down, see how much it costs. This helps them convert more of their traffic because the offer is right on the website. So stuff like that. Those are the details that matter, Annette. And the more you dial those in, the more you can show them, like, I'm going to build you this exact thing with these details. It's going to convert this much. It's going to cost this much. I'll take care of this, that, and that for you. You're just going to have an easier time selling that. Okay, Annette, part 2. Hey, does anyone have a tip how/where to find a VA for quality assurance, reviewing web design and development that are affordable? So far, I looked on Fiverr and Upwork, quite expensive for full-time. Or is anyone using such a process in their business and has any tips? Thank you. Annette, the closest I've ever done for that, so when I used to have like an SEO army, like when my SEO agency was at like, I don't know, 120-ish clients, we had about 35 VAs managing the system. And one of the challenges with VAs, especially in those days, it was less Google My Business. It was more like websites rank. And so we had to create tons of fucking content. Like I joke, but it's kind of true. I wrote more articles about like breast implants than any human being alive for like a good period of time. Like there was like a 7-year period of the internet where like there's a breast enlargement article, like I probably had a hand in it. But anyway, one of the challenges is not every Filipino is like super strong in English. And so I needed a quality control system. And what worked for us was not to go to Fiverr and Upwork and look for a freelancer, is I would find college kids that were in writing programs and were looking for side hustle work where they could use their skills. So in your case, like you're probably going to be looking for German native language. So I just went to regular hiring sites. I went to Craigslist. I went to Indeed. I went to Monster. I went to the places people look for jobs. And I didn't look for a freelancer. I looked for, and it said that, like looking for college kid who's in a writing program, who has experience. And they were usually looking for like $10 an hour. And I probably, for like 40 hours a week of a Filipino, I needed maybe 10 or like 1 to 2 hours of quality assurance because they could power through it pretty quickly in their native language. And I would just use them as quality control. That's how we were best able to do it. So I'm not saying that is the solution, just that is a solution that you may want to potentially consider that's worked for us. Huyen, my girl, what's up? What is your best CRM for agencies based on your experience? Thanks for your suggestions. So this is kind of a scale question for those of you guys who are like building bigger agencies. If you're at like probably less than 5 or 10 clients, this will be a less important question. But for those of you guys who start getting bigger, what ends up happening is I call this the communication ping pong. Ping, pong, ping. And those of you guys who do web design experience this the most. So when you do a website, you come up with a design and then you send it to a client, which is like ping, and you say, let me know your feedback. And then they take a little while and they get back to you and it's pong, and then they ask for some changes. And this goes back and forth, and almost the ping pong determines how fast the website will get built. Because if the client's really, really quick or they're really, really happy with it, if there's less ping pong, well, what happens is when an organization like an agency scales, really this is true of any service business. We're experiencing this now in our real estate startup as well, our acquisitions. But what happens is ping pong becomes the whole game as there's emails going back and forth and there's spreadsheets. So what you need is one place where everybody talks to each other. And the best CRM, to be honest, is probably not an exciting answer, but it's whichever one you're going to fucking use. And a lot of people really like Go High Level. I'm not a Go High Level user personally, though I see a lot of merits to it. I'm just like, I don't know, the tech is too much for me. We just use Asana, and the reason I use Asana in my agency is because I make to-do lists. That's how I get everything done. And Asana is like a digital to-do list, so it's easy for my brain to adapt. But it's not really important which CRM you use, to be honest. It's important that you use it and you get all your team using it so that they can communicate. And what will happen is there's all these hidden time savings. So like, for example, in the real estate stuff, one of the things we do is we put in the sellers the details of the entire house, the conversation, the estimates, links to, so you can see pictures of the property. And then what happens is when we bring in a new person to enter into that conversation, when it gets handover from like a leads person to a salesperson, we don't have to like update them on all the details of the house and the conversation because it's stored in there. And so there aren't 45 back and forth ping pong emails. So that's what you're doing with a CRM is you're getting everybody in one place to eliminate the ping pong. And whatever one you will use, that's the best CRM. Carlos, my man, I don't know if you missed your question from earlier. I hope not too late, but I'll ping you or I'll tag you on the replay. Zach says, hey, Frankie Finn, what do you use Zoho subscription exactly for? For most of you guys, you won't need Zoho, but I use Zoho with Stripe so that there's two things that it does. Basically, one is it makes it really easy to do payment plans. And the second thing is it also makes it very easy to manually adjust things. So like, for example, I have a couple of lawyers who every time they refer me somebody, I lower their bill $500 a month. I found that not so easy to do in Stripe, but very easy in Zoho. I can, or for example, I had another lawyer who said to me like, December, he just lost his biggest divorce lawyer. He's hiring new people. He had all these bonuses. He was stressed out about money. I was like, dude, let me just push your bill a month. And he said, okay, is that cool? Can I double pay you in January? I said, no problem. In Zoho, that's like one button. I just move his thing 30 days, change the amount, and we double book it in January, and that was fine. I found that stuff not so easy to do in Stripe. Maybe it is easy, but I never figured out how to do it. So that's kind of like our. But for most of you guys, you probably don't need Zoho and Stripe. But it is a cool addition if you're kind of like lazy, and if you're processing a lot of payments, which we are, it'll make your life easier in that regard. This more tech questions. You guys are loving the tech today. Catherine says, for those of you guys with 75 plus clients, what is your tech stack? CRM, email marketing, pipeline management, creating proposals, sending invoices, project and task manager, password, asset managers, client portal, productivity and communication suite. Do you have a good all-in-one tool? Will it grow to over 100 clients? If you use several platforms, what is your process for integrating? Do you manually copy data? Catherine, I'll tell you the first step, by the way, in scaling, and people miss this. Oh my God, I wish more people understood this. Step one to scaling is, what can I eliminate? It is not what can I automate. Automate is like step two. How can I automate, replace things? But if you don't do that, it sounds like in your case there's redundancy and things like that. There is no one-size-fits-all answer. It depends what your agency's doing. It depends, like, are you doing SEO? That's probably a different answer than if you're running Facebook ads. Probably a different answer than if you're doing AdWords. Probably a different answer than when you're doing web design. As far as CRM, I'll give you our tech stack. This is not to say this is the tech stack. I really hate when people say, like, this is the one way everybody must fucking do it, and you will not be successful unless you copy and paste my system. I'm just telling you our way that works for us. Our stuff is on Asana, and our real estate stuff is on a CRM called Podio. So we use 2 different CRMs in 2 different industries. Our email marketing is really simple. I used Aweber, and I use Aweber because it's the fucking easiest one I've ever used, and it's really fast. Pipeline management, how do we manage the pipeline? I'll tell you, that's gotten a lot easier since we sell through Loom videos because there's a lot less to manage. We really just have to manage conversations, and to be honest, that's probably not a good answer, but we do it through a spreadsheet. I know, that's not a good answer. Don't do it through Google Docs. Creating proposals and sending proposals, we have eliminated that step. So I don't have an answer for you on how to create and send proposals. If you make your offer do the selling, I'll tell you there'll be way less proposals to make. Project and task manager, that's Asana again. Password and asset managers. I still use LastPass. Everybody sent me a thing to tell me they're hacked and that those passwords are compromised. I know that, but I don't have any really like important sensitive passwords. Like, for example, like we have a mass texting program called Call Tools and another one called Batch Leads. So we do like a lot of texting at scale, and especially in the real estate stuff. And like I share those passwords. If somebody gets my texting password, I don't really give a fuck, right? So it's not like I have banking stuff and, you know, like really, really sensitive information, but we still use LastPass. I know there's probably better stuff, but I'm just telling you what we do. Client portal. We're actually using mostly direct mail. So a lot of the client portal is a combination of like just email, like quite literally email, and then we send them stuff in the mail. I don't know. It's probably not a complete system, but I'm just telling you what we do. Productivity and communication suite. This is another eliminate. So I want to say 10 years ago, I was really adamant. I wanted, like, how do I know my Filipinos are working 40 hours a week? So I got time tracking software called Time Doctor. I wrote about it a little bit in the book, and you find out all the crazy things your employees are doing with time. I actually remember hiring this guy, Raphael. He wasn't my first choice, but he gave me this sob speech about his mom was dying. He needed money for the meds. He would work harder for me than anyone he's ever worked in his life. So I gave him a job, and he logged into Time Doctor. And Time Doctor was a software you got to like literally click a button and say, I'm starting work now. And then it would measure what you're doing. And then he watched cartoon porn for an entire shift. And I thought his mom was dying, I didn't fire him right after that. And then he went, after I told him and confronted about him, he went again in the next day and watched more cartoon porn. Like, I guess he liked being watched. I don't know. This is what you guys come here for, right? The stories about cartoon porn. Forget growing an agency. We're here for the cartoon porn. And I still remember it was a Japanese cartoon chick getting fucked by an octopus. Can't make this shit up. I'm like, well, I was more shocked that like he was doing that on company time. Like, I don't care what you do on your private time. But I've started to, over the last 3-4 years, I just tell my employees, these are the outcomes I expect from you. I don't care when you do it. I don't care how long it takes you. I'm not here to like crunch you into a 40-hour week. I just want outcomes. So like I'm here to get results. So like however long it takes you, a reward efficiency. So that means like if it only takes you an hour and not 8 hours to finish it, then by all means don't work 8 hours. Like I want outcomes. And so for that reason, I don't have to track productivity. I don't have to do any of that. I'm just like I set the expectation. So there's another eliminate thing. Do we have a good all-in-one tool? No. But you want a good all-in-one communication tool. So that's Asana and Podio for us. And then everything else feeds out of there. Like in our real estate, our contracts integrate with Podio. So when somebody agrees to sell a house, like we just sent out a contract this weekend, and the contract gets signed in Podio and it gets automatically updated when the seller buys it. But that's our tech stack. I don't know if that's a perfect answer, but it gives you an insight just in what we're doing. Jen says, how do you manage your business operations? Have you ever thought of, I have so much to do, so little time, I have a team, and I still need to check on them. Who will manage the business? I don't think my tools are working. I want more clients, but I don't have more time to do leads. Let me know in the comment below if you've ever felt that in your business and how you manage it. All right, Jen. So this is a thing that happens, by the way, when you get started. When you're in those like I would say like 5 employees or less stages, I call it the income roller coaster, and it looks like this. Okay, you step your foot on the sales gas, and you make sales, usually because you have to, and then eventually you have to fulfill on those. And because you're the fulfillment person, you take your foot off the sales gas, and all of a sudden the fulfillment thing goes up, and you got all these promises you made you got to deliver on. And then what ends up happening is eventually you deliver on those promises, hopefully, as best you can, of course, you know. And then what ends up happening is then you need sales again. And so what ends up happening is income goes like this, and it keeps oscillating between sales and fulfillment until you figure this out over and over and over. So your income is like the opposite of linear. And sometimes, like, you know, it's not like a perfect curve. Like sometimes there's long stretches of the curves in the ups and down. But nonetheless, you deal with that roller coaster. The way to get off that roller coaster almost always is to tighten your deliverable at the front end and then systematize it. And what I mean by that is, I'd say for like the last 4 or 5 years, our deliverable has been dog shit fucking easy. Like for real, like I don't even have to, like I have some client ads and stuff like I haven't looked at in months. Because they just run, right? Like I don't have to do anything. And the reason they're able to run is because what we're doing for one client, we do for another, and we do it over and over and over and over and over and over. And so it's repeatable and scalable. In the same way, like the best analogy I could give to you is, okay, McDonald's and Amazon are 2 like mega successful companies that sell a lot of shit, but they didn't scale in the beginning selling a lot of shit. When you came to McDonald's originally, they only sold hamburgers. They eventually added fries and Coke. So they had 3 things you could get that were kind of like together. But in the beginning, you could just get a hamburger. And I call this custom versus customization. Customization is if somebody says, can you put extra pickles on my burger? They say, yeah. Can you take, I don't like mustard. Can you not give me mustard? Can I have extra ketchup? Or hold the onions? Or can I have double cheese? They'll do all of those things because it's still a burger. But if you show up and say, I want lasagna, or I want Chinese food, or can you cater my wedding, they'll tell you to fuck off. Politely, of course. And so the reason they were able to scale is because they just got to keep making burgers. And so they could systematize and process burgers. When Amazon first started, there were just books, right? Like you look at Amazon now, it's this corporate mega giant, but they only sold books. And they wanted to be known for this one thing. And so what happens is almost always when you're struggling on the fulfillment side, your deliverable is too complex. And this usually comes down to too much custom work. You do AdWords for a dentist. You design a website. You do some SEO over here. Somebody hires you for email copy. And then what ends up happening is you're spread in all these different directions. And it's not easier to hire somebody in that scenario because you have to find somebody custom for each thing. And you're usually not being paid super well. And so you got to so that's to say if you're doing a website, say you're a web designer, tighten that up and just design websites for one niche where you're doing the same thing over and over and over, and you'll be amazed at how much faster you can crank those websites out. And what will happen as a byproduct is you actually deliver more value to your marketplace because you'll get more done quicker. And so you'll be able to serve more people, but it'll be easier to serve more people because everybody's just coming to you for a burger. And the hardest part of all of that is just to fucking decide and then say no to everything else. Because imagine you say like, okay, that's it. From this day forward, we're only offering burgers, and you have all this momentum coming at you. You have people who may refer you, or you have ads and funnels and websites, or people who know you as this, and then they show up and say, hey, I know you don't do lasagna anymore, but can you make me some lasagna? If you say yes to that, you're going to be in the weeds delivering lasagna. But what happens is once you commit to just like being the burger person, you can have a tight deliverable, and then you can deliver it over and over. And I've heard people give me pushback on this. They're like, I don't believe in that copy paste shit. Well, if you want to have ever in your life more than fucking 10 clients, if you don't believe in cookie cutter stuff and copy and paste, then by all means do that. But this is a different mindset shift because, like I said, wrote about this in the book. You're not serving clients. You don't work for clients. That's a fucking employee mindset. You are creating assets and then leasing assets and processes, right? Like what people come to McDonald's for is they know they're going to get like a certain standard of hamburger really fucking fast. Their hook in their case for a lot of years is they're the fastest. Like you go there, you're going to get fed in 30 seconds, right? So it's a speed play in this case, but they are consistently fucking fast across the board, right? So it's very, very clear what you're going to get. And so for most of you guys, it would make your life so much easier just to tighten it and then focus on like systematizing, this is how we make a burger. And then what will happen is you can make burgers at scale. And you don't, like, just like Ray Kroc doesn't make burgers, you don't have to be the one making burgers. But if you want to get off that fucking roller coaster that most people are on in that situation, you got to tighten your deliverable. Because it's happening upstream, as I would say. Abu Yami, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Question for people who are doing SEO in the HVAC niche. How much on average do you charge monthly for SEO? Oh, this is a deeper question than you may realize. A lot of times people think the value of your deliverable, like in this case SEO or web design or whatever, is based on what you are doing. And it is actually much, much more based on who you are doing it for and what they're using it for. I'll give you an example of this, okay? In my niche, personal injury, okay? If there is a single lawyer who like works for himself, he's almost always doing between like $100,000 to $300,000 per year. And if he hires you to do SEO, you're more than likely going to be between like $400 US and like 2,000. And if you're much more than that, he's probably not going to be able to afford to hire you because it's just too much of his monthly income to pay you. On the flip side, if you're dealing with like a 50-person law firm and you're doing SEO for them, at the bare minimum, you're going to be like $7,000 a month. And probably we have a lot of guys in our, some of our masterminds and consulting that are doing this for $10,000 to $20,000 per month. Is the SEO really that different at $10,000 to $20,000 per month than the SEO you're doing for the single guy between 100? Not really. I mean, you're probably doing more of it. You're probably doing more backlinks and more articles and more content, but you're solving a different problem because you're doing it for a different who, okay? So when you think about the single guy, what problem are you solving for him? Well, for him, it's probably just like he has inconsistent business, as like we talked about. He's on the roller coaster income. So he wants an end to that unpredictability. When you're working with a 50-person law firm or a 50-person business in your niche, whatever that is, it's a different problem. They have to keep employees busy. They have to have schedules and people full and things like that. And if they don't, their cash flow really fucking sucks, right? So like they can go out of business if they suddenly can't make payroll for 50 people. So you're solving a very, very different, like totally night and day problem. And so what I mean by that is, if you want to make more money in your niche, go after bigger people. It's like the easiest thing to fucking do, and not enough people do it. The value of it is not based on the SEO, believe it or not. The value is based on, I always call it the two levels of who. Who are you doing SEO for? And who are you bringing people with SEO? So for example, SEO, if I'm doing this for personal injury, I could bring them all types of cases. There's like 5, 10 different kinds of cases I could bring them. And if I bring them like brain damage cases, a brain damage case might start at $500,000, right? So if I use my SEO to get in front of brain damage keywords and bring them that business, it's going to be more valuable than if I just generic go after a personal injury lawyer. So, what's up, Eddie? I like the chant. So that's my way of saying, like, don't think about your value as I do SEO, because SEO has a spectrum. The biggest example I can say of this, when I first started, like, there was a thing where people were doing WordPress websites to get started for $2.99, 300 bones. And I remember we got into the plastic surgery niche. I didn't plan it that way, but it just happened. And there was a company named MedNet, and MedNet sold $40,000 websites. This is like almost 15 years ago. And they charged $40,000 for a website. And this is what blew me away, is the website was a 2 to 3 year lease, meaning you didn't own your own fucking website, for 40 grand. And I used to, like, for years, I couldn't wrap my head around, like, who the fuck is paying these people 40 grand for a fucking website? My man Cole, he's in. I hope Julian's kicking ass and recovering, my man. So anyway, but the reason they do it is because for a plastic surgeon, the WHO, their clients are worth like $20,000, or their patients, I should say, are worth $20,000 to them. And so they think, in 2-3 years, if I just get 2 patients, I paid for my website, right? And so it had more to do with who is coming through the website and less to do with what we're making a website. So that's to show you the same fucking website can be worth $299 or $40,000 just by changing who it's for and who you bring them. So if you understand that, you stop attaching your value to me and my service, and you start attaching to, like, who I do it for, and you get better at the client selection process, which is the real secret behind it. Anshul, I hope I'm saying that right. What's your opinion on ChatGTP? Useful in the right context. I just did a video on this on our YouTube channel, and also I have more stuff that's coming down the pipeline for you guys in that. I've got some people showing you guys some cool functions. I want you guys to be ahead of the curve on what you can do this. This is my initial thing, and I'll leave it to you guys to go check out the video how we do that. It's fucking badass for research, like figuring out pain points and what people are stuck on and what challenges they have. So it's like really, really useful for that. It's really, really useful for like gathering information like that. It's really good, useful for like content, especially like content that like is not terribly important to humans. Like we make Instagram posts, and there's a bit of content that nobody even fucking reads because they're looking at the picture. Like, it's useful for that kind of stuff. It's useful for our YouTube descriptions. It helps us do them faster. Where everybody's scared about, which I think it's not useful for, is everybody thinks it's going to replace all the copywriting and all this shit. And in my opinion, it's a long ways away from that, because I'll give you an example of this, okay? Just so you guys can wrap your head around this. The number one making skill to writing great copy is being great at making offers, okay? So imagine you could hire the best copywriter in the world to write a dating profile. And that person has to write a dating profile. And they write a dating profile for a guy who's 45 years old, lives in his mom's basement, is 300 pounds overweight, has a skin condition, and he smells really bad. And I want you to get the best copywriter, the best messaging person, and write a dating profile for him. And then I will give you an average copywriter, and I'll give you a guy who's a male model. He's rich, he's got multiple businesses, he wears fancy suits and fancy watch, and he's got a nice smile, and he's humble, and he's charming, and he's a nice guy, and all that stuff. Okay? But you only get an average copywriter. Who do you think's going to do better in the dating world? Because it's not about the fucking copy, because this is a shitty offer over here, because the guy's overweight, he smells, and all those things, like that's just an unfortunate reality. I'm not judging who you guys should date or not date. I'm just making a point here. But that guy, you cannot dress up with messaging. People always think the answer is messaging. You can't just make ChatGTP turn that guy into somebody cool. But with this guy, the ad is almost, the profile is going to write itself, right? I'm a this, I'm a that. I've seen this places. The pictures will be amazing and all that, right? So what you have to understand is that in the business world, we have the capacity to make our offers the smelly basement guy or the GQ model. And so almost always, if you figure out how to make your offers the GQ model, you can get mediocre copywriters to do it. But everybody's afraid that ChatGPT GTP is going to replace humans. I look at it like bank machines came out 20 years ago and everybody was convinced there would be no more bankers. And there's still tellers. There's a lot less of them than there was like 20 years ago. So a lot of those people who did the low-level banking are gone. They've moved on to other work. But the people who do the high-level organizing the bank and all that, like the managers, the brains of the operation didn't go anywhere. This is why I keep like harping on like learn this offer-making skill, because it will never fucking go out of style. And what most marketers miss, and this is so much deeper, we kind of talk about this quite a bit in the mastermind, but is when you use your offer making skills to acquire. And what I mean is most agencies are trying to figure out, how do I sell my shit? And there's merit to selling your shit, but wealth is based on what you own, and what you own is based on what you acquire, and what you acquire is based on offers you make. The beautiful thing in our world is we can make offers on digital assets, we can make offers on customer lists, we can make offers to own communities and email lists. And if you understand this, the name of the game is acquiring, not selling. And it's just like if you like, imagine for example, there's a $100,000 house and you could have the best salesperson in the world to sell that $100,000 house. Or you could have a mediocre salesperson, but you could acquire the house at $40,000 US, $60,000 under its price. Well, at that price, you could turn around and sell it for 65, and you'd need very little messaging, very little copy, and all of that, right? So the key with doing this is understanding how to acquire. It's a much deeper topic than I probably have time to get into right now. But if you learn that skill, then ChatGTP can be your best assistant in that. Can make you much more faster and efficient and pull those things together. But what it's not going to do is replace people who actually understand this game. So if you guys are worried about that, like fucking up level your offer skills, and it's never going away. It's never going to, like, I'm always interested in the principles that aren't going to change, and that's one of them. Let me just grab a drink here, guys. I think we got 2 more questions. Let me just check them out. I don't know if you guys have them in the comments. James says, hello guys. I have chosen a niche of financial planners and advisors, and my offer is increased leads and appointments through Facebook ads. Does anybody have any tips on how to find a good media buyer for this niche? I'm struggling to find somebody specific to this niche, or am I being too picky and just need somebody with experience who can learn about the niche? Probably being too picky. Having said that, I did a training on this, and it's probably, I'm a little bit of a contrarian sometimes. I don't mean to be. I just have a different opinion than most people. I see this all the time. I mentioned this for the e-commerce person who had the question earlier. What most businesses' real problem that they don't, like their deeper underlying problem that they don't understand is one fucking word, which is margin. And because of that, what most people try and do to solve their margin is to find a media buyer who can buy ads cheaper and cheaper. And I think this is a losing proposition because ads go up over time. Look at the history of Google ads. Look at the history of Facebook ads. Look what's happening now to TikTok ads. They're auctions. They go up over time. So what we want to do is address the real problem of increasing margin and not fix the surface level of how can I get my ads cheaper so that my margins work. If you understand that, your business will be much successful for much longer, and your clients' businesses will be more successful for much longer. And so that's why I think like people get caught up in the wrong thing. Having said that, almost always, if you can make it work for one financial planner, document your steps, document what's working, and then you don't need a great media buyer because you can hire almost anybody to follow your working process. And if not, if you're trying to bring somebody in, then the way I bring them in is the same way I bring in anyone. First date, let's try 5 people. Hey, let's see if you can solve this financial problem of like buying ads and leads for financial planners, and you can buy media, but don't like just hand them the role. Try it out for like 30 days or 60 days and try out a couple of people and go with the best one, because you learn more by doing than you will. But I know that's contrarian, but if you understand the real problem is margin, you'll stop trying to solve it with surface level shit that can't win in the long term. Like, yeah, okay, you may be able to like get cheaper ads for a little while, but how long is that going to last? And the answer is not very. I'd much rather figure out how to make the overall client more valuable, because then I can pay the most for ads, and then I'm less caught up in like, I need to get my leads for $35 US or they don't work. Steve, my man, says, I need to train a new team member on local marketing via Google Maps. Is there a program course that I can buy to teach them? That is a good question. I don't know if there's a program or course, but this is why I say, like, Steve, the real game is assets. And one of the assets is there are tons of people who've already done that for you. Whatever you're trying to rank, someone else has figured out how to rank. Maybe not necessarily in the market. Like, let's say you're trying to rank a plumber in Atlanta. Well, someone else has ranked a plumber in New York, and a plumber in Washington, D.C., and a plumber in Seattle, and a plumber in Frog Balls, Arkansas. So what I do is when I think about it is I'm like, who's already done that? And then I make an offer and go, hey, we're interested in all your training materials, SOPs, and stuff. Any chance they would be for sale? If you ask like 2-3 people who are already getting results in that, like more than likely one of them is going to say yes. I would do that before I would purchase a course, and I'll tell you why. This is just my personal opinion, but a lot of the people who create courses, and I learned this like when I got into the early days of the Warrior Forum, is there would be people who sold shit tons of courses, and then those same people would talk shit on other forums. So I go like on Black Hat World, and they say they made all their money selling courses to people they knew were never going to do anything with it, and they had never done any of the information they were presenting in the course. So I usually would rather have less stuff that's more real world and actionable and going to work. A lot of the course creators, they make their money selling courses, not by actually like doing what they say. So I would see who's already done it and see if their SOPs are for sale, because you're going to get what really works and it'll be direct and to the point. And almost always they undervalue their assets because, okay, they ranked one plumber, but they don't know what to do with it. Especially if they're a generalist agency, which often happens, and they have no use for plumber training and SEO, and they'll give you everything, the websites and blah blah, and usually they just want a couple $100 for it, in my experience. And often you can negotiate, okay, can I pay you the couple $100 after we like get it implemented and use it? And they'll be like, yeah, okay. And so like I've gotten like really cool shit for like $400 that is way better than any course. That's where I would probably look personally. I'm not saying that's the answer. I always like to tell you guys like this is one possible solution, but just where my mind goes. Hetty says, I get this from your email. McDonald's does not depend on a great chef. They create world-class burger systems that any pimply-faced 16-year-old can run. A great system is better than having a great chef. Ideally, by the way, Hetty, you want both, but I always prioritize systems before people, right? Like McDonald's doesn't need great people. Neither does Amazon. Like I'm sure Amazon has some great people in their organization, but like they're notoriously like a pretty shitty employer. Part of the reason their stuff works so well is like airtight systems. You can really see this in McDonald's because they've made it so that like for real, any pimply-faced kid can make your burger, and it doesn't matter whether you get it in Frog Balls, Arkansas, Beijing, China, Paris, France. You're going to get the same basic Big Mac, and the reason is the process is the same. Like the machines they use, the technology, it's like repeatable over and over and over, and it's this repeatability that they're after. If you think about that when you run an agency, especially on the delivery side, but also on the marketing and acquisition side, if you think about like, how can we make this result repeatable so we can do it over and over and over at scale, you'll build a better business and it'll need less of you to run it, which, ideally you can get it to the point of 0 if you want that. So that was a good comment. That's about an hour of me ranting, just for those of you guys who missed the intro. I decided this year to open up the Mastermind 10 more spots. I love doing this, guys. With you guys. If I could do this all the time, I probably would, but I got 3 kids. I got my own agency to run. We're also doing, as I mentioned, we've got now a real estate acquisitions company that is only about 2 months old, but we're in the process. I wouldn't even say 2 months old, but we're in the process of building that. So I only have so much time to do this, but 10 spots is a good amount. I love doing this. I love hanging with you guys. I love seeing the transformation. I love the messages I get a year later from you guys when you tell me it was the best decision you ever made. So for any of you guys who are interested in that, I got a new video that has all the details. We've actually already had a couple of those 10 spots taken. But there is some openings that I decided to open this year. If you're interested in that, just shoot me a message. I'll send you the video. You can check it out. Has all the details, what you can expect, what we can do, what we cannot do. That's one of the things I wanted to make more clear this time around is like what the mastermind is not. Like if you're looking for this or that, just save you guys the trouble of joining something that just wouldn't be a fit for you. But other than that, I don't know. that's all I got for you guys. And much love, you guys. You guys are amazing for real. I say this a lot, but I love doing this because you guys are so cool. Like for real, you guys are all like, Carlos is coming over to La Paz on Tuesday. I can't wait to see him. But like, there's so many you cool guys out there and gals that it's just like this is fun for me. You guys are out there changing businesses, changing the world, and you're motivated and you have purpose and you learn and you study and you grow, and those are my kind of people, as Nick Peterson calls it, MKP, my kind of people. So I don't know, I just have a lot of friends, a lot of appreciation for you guys and how fucking cool you are. So that's all I got for you guys this week. May the force be with you. Much love.